Kia ora. Today I'm going to share with you a couple of pages in my Everyday Life album. I'm going to be using mostly the Holly Jolly collection, which I'm just showing you now, along with the Mixins and some julep glitter paper from the November-December 2019 Close to My Heart catalogue. I'm really taken by these Mixins, but I don't end up using much of them in these pages. So this is just my Everyday Life folder, and these are just for the photos that are kind of bits and pieces, or they're more just me. They're not necessarily for my whole family. So I put pages in here when I feel like scrapping a smaller size, or when I know that they're not really a family moment or a family memory, but they're more like a little bit of a journal or a diary for myself. So the photos I'm playing with on this side of the album pages is some spring photos I took when visiting my parents' farm recently. So I thought I had some of the julep sequins that are in this idea book, but in the current catalogue, but I didn't. So I've used some of the silver ones that I had, and you can see I first of all put them in the wrong side, and then I tucked them in over to the other. So I've just got a tool heating up over in the background there that I will use to seal off that pocket so that the sequins and the little acrylic butterflies stay in there. So I've decided to back this photograph with some of the julep glitter paper. Now I needed to use the glass, I've just forgotten the name of it there, because the glitter paper, I found that the tape doesn't quite hold often to the glitter paper. So that's why I'm just patting that down there to try and let it stick down a little bit more, and tucking in a piece that didn't quite fold. So all I've done with the top part there is cut out a 6x4 piece of the pattern paper, and then I've layered up my photograph with a white border as well as that julep stuff. So now I'm pulling off some of our foam alpha, and I'm just tucking the words I want down the bottom because I want to stamp on top of these. So I'm going to just stick them down on here, and I'm using one of the Cricut cartridge. I think it came with the Flower Market set, and there's some florals on there, and I'm just going to stamp that onto there. And I had to decide which colour I wanted, and I decided to go with the sage colour because I want it to be more subtle rather than standing out and bold for the title. I want the photos to stand out more so than the title. So there's just a little bit of floral now on those letters, and I'm just going to peel them off. I worked out where the centre sort of was, and I started there working backwards, and I just have to hope that I spelt it correctly now that I think about that, but I'm pretty sure I did. So they are going on to the photo but overlapping into this wee pocket card. You'll see a bit later on that I should have thought a bit more about this, but I did manage to solve the problem. Now I'm using one of the older stamps here to create a bit of a journaling card to tuck up in alongside this photograph on this piece that will sit inside one of the pockets. So it's worth hanging on to stamps, especially with journaling bits and stuff like that. So I've done the writing, and I'm just trimming that down, and I'm going to stick that down onto this wee photo pocket there. So I've got the julep glitter, the gems, and I'm just going to place one or two on this page, just to bring in a connection with that julep glitter paper in the background there. So you can see how I've got that pocket and I've sealed it off, so now the bits won't fall out of there, and they're just there forever to shake around inside that little pocket. Now I realised that I'm going to have to cut my card in half, which was quite fortunate that I'd placed my letters almost perfectly for this to happen, and I had to use both trimmers because there was quite a few layers in there. Now you'll see here that I am poking them in, and they are quite thick because of the foam letters in there. So when I go to work on the back, I'm going to have to make sure I keep my pieces quite thin. So I toy around with the idea of adding some more pieces onto this page, but I decided I actually like it the way it is. So here on the back of this pocket page in the Everyday Life size, which is 6 by 8. I am going to just do a quick page about a photo I captured one morning when I was working, when I was coming in and seeing my daughter making herself a coffee, and it was something that all three of the girls work around at every morning. So we all sort of pause around the coffee machine at some point. So I'm just going to capture these mornings. As of next year, this particular daughter possibly won't be living at home, whether she's working on a Word of Life internship or whether she is at university, I don't know, and she's not sure yet either. She's just waiting to hear back information about both options. And so while it is an everyday morning, it's kind of a moment that I did want to capture. So I decided to use the lettering stamps for a title just on a 3x4 piece of the paper, and this is from the Mixins that are in this November-December idea book. I don't mind that the colours from the pages behind peek through. That's perfectly fine with me. I decided to use one of the other Mixin sheets with the dots on it as a journaling thing and using the dots as my lines. So you can see here that that's got the lines, and I'm just going to journal on this inside the piece, just capturing part of the story that goes along with this photograph. So you get to see me write here for a few minutes and composing my ideas as I go. Often what I put into the journaling are the thoughts and ideas that go through my head as I'm putting the page together. As I come up with a title, it often connects with what is written in the journaling. So I'm kind of capturing those little everyday stories as I put the page together, and then I kind of encapsulate it as I go to write it down. So I decided that the morning's card didn't quite have enough to it. It was just too simple. So I'm using I think it's one of the Story by Stacey stamps with a border, and I'm just going to tuck that along the top, and I'm going to tuck that along the bottom as well, just using the black archival ink, and that just sets it, makes it look like I've actually done a bit more to that page. And so on the other piece here, I'm just using this 3 little hearts in a row. I'm going to tuck them on the top and on the bottom, and then there's some little pluses or little crosses that I really like from the set. I use it on quite a few pages just to add a little bit more detail to it that I'm tucking onto this page. Again, and I play around with the idea of an acrylic heart, but I remember that the pocket behind is quite chunky already, so I don't want to increase that. And you can see here that perhaps I should have trimmed this off a little bit more to fit it in properly. It's perhaps a little bit wider than it needed to be, just because of the thickness of what's underneath it. When you do pocket pages that have a see-through element, like I've done with the sequins and the acrylic butterflies that are sort of tucked in there down to the bottom left, it's a good idea to try and do the 2 pages or think carefully about what will go on the back page in there. So here we go, there's my pages ready to go. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've seen a little bit or a different way of using perhaps some of the Holly Jolly collection along with the Mixins that are in the November-December 2019 idea book. Thank you.